Good morning, my fellow Africans and the world at large. This is Emmanuel Kwadwo Mensah once again, coming into your homes and your minds with a message of empowerment and enlightenment, all the way from Ontario, Canada. Today is the 2nd of September in the year 2022, and the Bible says, "This is the day the Lord has made. We should rejoice and be glad in it." And for that matter, I take this opportunity to invite the whole world, any man or woman listening to me or hearing my voice, to join me to give thanks to God for the day that He has granted unto us and life in general. Life is beautiful. Life is wonderful. Life is glorious. Life is God Himself, flowing through all things, including mankind. Today, I am going to speak to you on the topic, let us be deliberate and active creators, but not ignorant and passive creators. I repeat, let us be deliberate and active creators, but not ignorant and passive creators. The human being, whether you know it or not, or whether you agree with it or not, is a creator. And the only purpose for which we are on this earth is to create. And that is moving ourselves to a higher level, which is part of, or as part of the creation that God started. And so you are not here just to walk through or to pass through the earth, just like all other things. And even all other things are part of the creation. And we are all creating, but the human being is given the dominion, the power and authority to create after the likeness or in the same way as God created everything. And so a human being is not just any other creation passing through the earth, but we are God Himself, individualized into our own individualities and acting with our parent God to move everything forward. And so you are here to create. But our knowledge about this and we being deliberate in knowing what we want and what we want to create, and also being ignorant and passive. That is, we want something, but we don't know how to create it deliberately. Therefore, we go on to create what we don't want in our lives. That makes the differences that we see in the life of men and women on earth. And so today we're going to look at this and we are going to educate ourselves and to empower ourselves such that every one of us will begin to move in the right direction. That is to be deliberate and also having the belief and the mindset that He is here to create, and therefore everything that is passing through you or any of us life is our own creation. My creation doesn't affect you in any way, but in the same way, your creation doesn't affect me in any way. Though we cut across, but it has nothing to do with what you are here to do on earth here. We work to complement one another. And therefore, my creation is to build or is to empower you for you to also go on to create. And as we do our creation based on what we are here for, all put together, we get a beautiful and a wonderful life for all men and women, which we call humanity. And so, in the book of Genesis, chapter 1, verse 26, we are told that, "Then God said, let us make man in our image, according to our likeness." This is from the book of Genesis, chapter 1, verse 26. And I repeat again. Then God said, let us make man in our image, according to our likeness. Here, man is inclusive, both man and woman. And so we are seeing that God was deliberate. He deliberately created all things and then made man in His own image and likeness, such that we will inherit whatever He has created and also continue with the process. Just as A man or woman decides is deliberate. You look for a woman to want to give birth, you look for a man. They come together, they are deliberate, they plan the day or the year that they want to give birth, and then eventually the child comes out in the relationship, and the child grows to inherit whatever thing that they have done. Then the child takes on and continue. And it is the same thing with us and God. We are the images and the likenesses of God. And the primary aim of God is creation. And so he set off the process of creation and then individually himself into us as human beings for us to continue. And so if you ask any man or woman, what is your purpose on earth here? The answer should be to be a creator, to be deliberate in my creation. If you are not deliberate, and if you don't have the knowledge or the understanding of whatever I am saying about today, or I am saying today, or talking about today, then you will always be an ignorant creator and a passive one, because you don't make it a deliberate act. But as a matter of fact, by your nature, whether you are aware of it or not, you create your own realities, and we create our own realities collectively. And so today we are going to look at this and begin to move ourselves forward. Let us not be ignorant. Let us not be ignorant anymore. And let us not be passive. Whenever situation comes into our lives, we do not have to go about blaming people. We do not have to go about asking disempowering questions, but we are supposed to look at it and say, okay, I am a creator. I am the image and the likeness of God. And God has given me the power and dominion over all things, including my environment, my circumstances. Therefore, I am going to look for the powers within me and go on to conquer this. And by the time I conquer all this, I am a new person. I have moved myself from a lower level of my state to a higher level of my existence. And that is how it's supposed to be. And so you are a creator, my fellow men and women, particularly my fellow Africans. This concept, this idea, this truth is something that is so difficult for the African men and women to accept, because we have indulged in religion up to the point that we are not seeing the truth. Even when we see the truth, we kick against it. But this is the time we only have to look into our lives and look at what is happening, whatever thing that is happening in our life. And if you are really looking for or searching for liberation, searching for salvation or freedom from this, then it will dawn on you that it is time for us to look the other way. And that is to be deliberate creators, to be deliberate and active in creation, so that we will create our own reality favorably. If you don't do that, then you will ignorantly and passively create the unfavorable situation that you don't want. And so I am going to speak on this in relation to a topic or a statement I made or I spoke about in my previous episode. And that is about Africans, how we look at things. And some of us, by God's design, or by the work of the universe, we all grew up in Africa. And a person like me, I grew up in a village, have a life that I didn't even know the life in the city until I grew up to a certain age before coming to the city. And by the same arrangement, from that village, I migrated to United Kingdom, a developed world. I never had the chance to even travel, and then later on migrated from United Kingdom to Canada. And so if you look at this, I have lived through all the levels of life, from the poorest, the unknown, a village. I grew up at my early ages in life. I did not know what electricity was or is. I did not know what all that we call modern technology, whatever, is. But by the same power, I now live in it, and I know I talk about it. I've enjoyed it. I've experienced it. I have worked at the top level in Canada and in the US, in the UK. And so I know what life is in all areas of our existence. And there is nothing that I can convince me not to believe that we are creating our own realities. It is a fact. Whatever thing that any man or woman that sees or we will see in this part of the world, Europe and North America, Asia, was as a result of men and women knowing that they are deliberate, they are creators, and therefore they became deliberate in their actions and thinking. Sorry, in their thinking and actions. But as in Africa, ours is the other way. We are not aware that we are the creators, but we see ourselves as victims. Therefore, we sit down and we create ignorantly, but also in being passive of the whole process. Whilst we create our own realities, we turn around and blame other people. And so that is what we are going to look at. And I was talking about the idea that our fellow Africans, that is the black African Americans in particular, and those in Canada, even those, some of them in Caribbeans and other things, are now migrating back to Africa. And so I made a point, and I'm going to stress on this point. I'm going to build upon that. And I am a believer in the statement that nature unaided fails. And that also comes to support the proposition that we are the images and the likenesses of God, and therefore we are supposed to create. Our role on this earth is creation, to put things together, to create, and to make life beautiful for humanity. And so now we have this, and even I have seen some of these videos, clips, and other things on YouTube where we have Jamaicans going back to Ghana in particular, Africa, to resettle. And we have all these people coming in. They are our brothers and sisters. In terms of skin color, in terms of how we look, we are the same. But the fact is that we are not the same in terms of thinking and exposure, things that we have been exposed to. As a matter of fact, whether you believe it or not, that is the truth. Our fellow Africans in North America, Europe, and the Caribbean, they have been exposed to a certain type of life. They have a certain kind of enlightenment that those of us in Africa don't have. I am not talking about education. I'm not talking about academics, but I am talking about matters of life. And so our brothers and sisters, they have been exposed to some of these things. Even if they are not practicing it at all, they are very conscious of it. They have knowledge about it, which those of us in Africa, we don't. And so if you look at all these things, you will see that even though we carry the same skin color and we are from the same place, we are no longer the same in terms of advancement, in terms of, mindset. We are not the same. And so when you are fusing these two things together, then you must be deliberate in thinking of what you want to create. And so I made a point that African, by the way we live and how we are still living, we haven't made any changes to our setup. There hasn't been any reform. And as a matter of fact, even if I'm to go back, when I was in the University of Ghana, I read political science. So I read about what we call local government reforms in Ghana. And these reforms and other things, it wasn't actually deliberate. It was when the Rawlings government actually went to IMF and other things. And some of these things were imposed on us. They came out with what we call it, the reforms in the local government and other things. But even as a matter of fact, those reforms didn't actually go anywhere. They only scratched just a surface of it and left it. No one is talking about it. But I am talking about where we being deliberate. And when I use the examples or life, those of us that are here as our lives in either North America or Europe, you will see that when we migrated, even before we migrated, some people deliberately create a system. It was a deliberate creation. They had the idea. They want to create a multiracial countries or society communities. And so they actually made laws. They created a system in such a way that whenever you migrate to, let's say, United Kingdom, which I can say very much about it because I have experienced it, or you come to Canada here, there is only one system that you walk into, and everyone goes through that system. And when you come to Canada, you have the right, or you go to UK, you have the right to settle anywhere. All of us are actually, accessing the same laws, the same thing. If you go to any part of United Kingdom, if you go to any part of Canada, there is nothing like some traditional rulers that you have to satisfy them, you have to appease them for you to do this and that. All we have is the government, the local government. There is no any other form of authority that will one day stand up and say that your operations are against my traditions, your operations are against what we stand for, and therefore we have the right to ask you to leave our place. As a matter of fact, I have lived in London, I have lived in Glasgow, and then I schooled in Liverpool, and I have traveled all over United Kingdom. When I came to Canada here, I have lived in different places. There is nowhere that I have been that someone actually, you talk of local leaders or whatever you have is the government. We have only one government with all its branches in all areas. And therefore, there is only one system. Everything is done in such a way that whoever walks into this system has the right to do whatever he wants to do without any being exposed to any form of attack, or maybe any kind of negative effect. And so when you see that anything that we see here, we are protected. As a matter of fact, regardless of how imperfect the system is, immigrants are protected. Whether you are a black, you are an African, or whatever, you are protected, and the law actually helps you. It may not be perfect, but there is something in place that we are working upon. And so when you look at it, it is a deliberate act. They deliberately created the system in such a way that whoever comes in, there will not be any difficulties, there will not be any differences in terms of who we are or what we want to achieve. But if you go to Africa, we are not doing anything. We are not making any changes to our setup. And as a matter of fact, I personally believe that we are living in countries. And I will use my home country, Ghana, as an example. We have only one nation. That nation is Ghana. Everyone is a Ghanaian. And therefore, the only authority that is supposed to exist in Ghana, taken for as an example, is the branches of government in any level. All other authorities are shouldn't be relevant. They shouldn't have any power to talk about what one is supposed to do or what one is not to do. Any kind of traditional rules and whatever things are distractions, and they will never take us anywhere. And therefore, when we talk of inviting people who have come to live in America, who have a mindset of the Westerners into our setup, but we are not doing anything to change our setup to meet them at a certain level, then we are creating a problem down somewhere around along the way, and we will feel it, and it will have serious impact on us and those who are coming. And so let us be deliberate simply means every setup, every system must be continually be reviewed, must be continually improved in line of the human evolution. They are our fellow Africans. They have lived somewhere and they are coming back to us. It is our responsibility to make our countries, our nations more convenient and open for them to be able to settle in. And as a matter of fact, at this stage of our life, we have to come to terms that traditional things and other things are no more. We are modern people. We are no more traditional. We are not olden people. We are modern people. And therefore, there is the need for us to modify everything that we call tradition. Why should we even have a system called tradition? Why should we call a system that tradition? It is sometimes very confusing that a well-educated person will be taken and installed as a chief or as a king, and then he leaves everything that he has learned in school, he leaves everything that he has done at the university level, and live a life which is almost the same as people who lived in the olden days. It doesn't make sense. The human being is moving forward, and there is no way that we will go back. So there is the need for us to begin to think of how to renew, how to reform, change all our systems. And then that we are becoming deliberate creators. Those who created it, they did it based on their level of civilization, based on their level of evolution. And these systems, whatever we call our tradition and whatever, that is creating a lot of confusion on the land of Africa. It existed all other places, but they make a deliberate effort. They knew that they are the deliberate creators, and they are made in the image and the likeness of God. And therefore, the creation process is what they are supposed to take part. So they made efforts to change things. And even as we are here, as I'm talking to you right now, I'm in Canada. Every day there are reforms, there are changes that keeps coming to make the system, to make the place more, open to everyone. But what are we doing in Africa? We cannot think of creating a modern society, inviting people from different places that have lived in a system that has no recognition to all that we hold. And then we believe that we can create this, they can come and live well. Yes, all these our brothers and sisters that are coming by, they will live on our lands, and they will see themselves as Americans. They will see themselves as Europeans, because we haven't made things that will make them settle and feel at home. It is not just about we being blacks. It's not just about we being the same color, skin color, or whatever, looking alike, but it is about making effort to move ourselves, our life, to a level that modern human beings are enjoying, whether we like it or not. We do not like Africans, so we are migrating from Africa to all these places. And if our people are migrating from developed world to underdeveloped world, then it is our responsibility. And that also makes us creators. The reason why we are not developed, the reason why we are underdeveloped, is as a result of our ignorance about the fact that we are creators, and therefore we have to deliberate. We have to be deliberate in everything that we do and everything that we have. And so it is a good idea. And I personally, I believe in the unity of all black people. But whilst we think of the unity of black people, we cannot be passive and think that things will create themselves. And as I've already stated, nature unaided fails as it thinks. All the leaders, all the people in Africa that are calling for this, they have a motive, and that is they have come to the point that they cannot do anything, or they cannot bring development. Therefore, we have to bring our brothers and sisters in, which is true. But the real motive has to be that it is time that we develop our continent, and therefore we have to use our minds, and everything has to be reviewed such that both sides will be able to merge without any difficulties, without any challenges. And so this is the time that we have to be deliberate. We have to be intentional. Life is intentional. What do we want to create? The vision, the vision and the perfect mental picture is that one day, the children of Africa, wherever we find ourselves, we will meet on our continent, or even if we are not living together, we have one mind that we think, and we think and work together to develop our continent to a level that we will say, yes, this is what we have done by the help of God in us and around us. And so let us be deliberate. Let us be deliberate in everything that we do. And for me, this particular topic is so dear to my heart. I believe, and my prayer is that one day we will stand on the land of Africa and declare as children of Africa, both those in diaspora and those on the continent, that this is what we have taken our continent, and this is what we have modernized it to. This is what we have modernized it to. One day, a citizen in Ghana will sit down and say, yes, I am a Ghanaian, and I only have one authority that I must address, and that is my government at all levels. We must reform and redevelop, repackage our chieftaincy or whatever into a certain level that they will only be ceremonial, that they will not have any power. And I know for a fact, when I was growing up, Ghanaians, I read about Nigerians in Ghana. When they came, Ghanaian, or the government of Ghana actually sent them back. Then Nigeria at a point also did the same thing in retaliation. Ghanaians went to Nigeria, they brought them back. We were all black people. As a matter of fact, we even had the same mindset. But the Ghana-Nigeria situation is a typical example. Not long ago in South Africa, Africans turned against their own brothers and sisters and killing them and destroying their property. But we are talking of people coming to live amongst us. We haven't settled, we haven't developed, we haven't addressed our own issues. And if Nigerians and Ghanaians have been to these countries and they've been kicked back by their own people, what will happen? That one day a black American will come and become successful. Then we realize that they own our minds, they own this and that. We will turn against them and drive them back as we did with each other in Nigeria and Ghana, in South Africa. It is happening all over. It will come to a point that we will turn against them, that they have come to take our land. And on the most majority of the black Americans too, they have that feeling, they have that pain that the Africa belongs to them, and it was our forefathers that sold them into slavery, and therefore they have the right to come and take it. So most of them also are coming to take whatever they think belongs to them. And this is the kind of mental forces that are clashes that we need to iron out. We cannot just sit down and then spontaneously, without any deep thinking, without putting thought into issues, and just get up that we are going to do this. No, it doesn't work like that. We need to work on ourselves on either side. There must be a way that we create a new perspective, a new understanding. All that has happened. Therefore, let us come together and build Africa. And this can only happen only when we have our governments in control, that we have only one government. If you come and you do anything, you are dealing with the government. Then chiefs somewhere will not sell the land to the individuals at a point, and then it gets to a point that they feel that they have been cheated. It's a fact. Nature unaided fails. If we fail to be deliberate in everything that we do, then we will fail somewhere along the line. We will fail somewhere along the line. This is the time that we have to put our minds together, put thoughts to everything that we're going to do. There is the need for us to address some spiritual and social issues between these two areas, for us to bring ourselves together. And then that the children of Africa has come together, then we work in unison, we work as one. And that should be our focus. So nature unaided fails. We can never sit down and expect that things will fall in place by itself. If that is the case, then God wouldn't have created us as his own images and likeness. God knew that there must be intelligent beings to put other things together so that there will be creation in the physical. So let us be deliberate. Whatever we are doing, there is the need for us to go on, to begin to analyze the African society, the African setup is behind the human evolution, whether you believe it or not. The African cultures, the African beliefs are behind the human evolution. And until we pull them down, until we tear them down, and then begin to expand, begin to create societies that are free, that give freedom to men and women, this, we will not go forward. We will not achieve anything. I know it very well. I know even in Ghana right now, there is the possibility that when you go to any area, the traditional rulers or the chiefs have their power to tell you that they don't want you there. And if you go there, either you'll be stoned to death or they'll attack you. It's a fact. I have observed these things, especially I have lived in the northern part of Ghana, and I know what exists. Whenever the king, whenever the chief says that is what the men and women are going to take, and they lynch people, they kill people. I have lived, I know this. So this is the time that we have to devalue the power that all these people have. That such that we have only one government. I have seen instances where even the locals attack government authorities, they attack government leaders, they attack government offices and burn them down. And we have this, we do not want to reform them. Then we think that we will grow to a certain level. That will not happen. This is the time that we have to begin to analyze, I am not anti-traditional or anti-chieftaincy or whatever, but I'm just speaking the truth that we have to deliberate. Life is about creation. What do we want to create? What do we want? And we should be able to look at it and create something that will mirror our current evolution, our current state of existence. That is what all I'm saying. We cannot keep on practicing things that were practiced in the olden days and thinking of creating a modern country, a modern nation. That is not going to happen. It cannot be. And so let us be deliberate. This is the time that we have to rise up. We have to think and be deliberate in whatever we are doing, for nature unaided fails. The nature unaided fails. I know very well that we have the ability, we have the capability to do, only if we have the will. If we have the will. And this is the time we have to develop the will. So let us rise up. Let us look into our society. Let us look into our own lives. What do we need to do away with? What do we need to take away? We need to save ourselves. We need to save ourselves. And this is the time that we have to begin to review. Let a man examine himself. A life without re-examination is not worth living. And that is what we are doing. Our life, we don't actually want our own existence because our life is painful, because we are not reviewing our life. This is the time that we have to rise up. My fellow Africans, let us rise up. Let us begin to talk about this openly. The fact that I am speaking about it doesn't mean that I am against any chief or whatever, but I'm asking for a complete evaluation of our setup, our locals, everything that we call local, such that when someone walk into any nation, if I go to Nigeria, I am dealing with the Nigerian government, but I don't have any local authority or local chiefs or whatever to deal with. If I go to Zimbabwe, I am dealing with only the government of Zimbabwe. I don't have any other authority to deal with. That is it. Then we will see that we are modernizing our countries. We are not the only people that had chieftaincy. We are not the only people that had traditional matters. But most people have reformed, yes. They have improved upon it, but they keep what they used to practice. An example is United Kingdom. The king and the queen, or whatever we have there, they are only ceremonial leaders. But ours is even so complicated because we have left it down that we don't want to improve upon it. They have improved upon it after where they are. And now we have the multiplicity of local leaders, the multiplicity of chiefs and queens and kings or whatever. So it is creating confusion. This is creating confusion. This is the time that we have to deliberate. And all has to come to the point that life is a matter of being deliberate. You are a creator, and therefore let us create it well. And the creation is done by what we think about situations. What we think about situation. It is not just about preserving it. It is about modernizing it and making it a modern one to suit the current level of evolution or human civilization. That is the truth of life. We can look at our chieftaincy, we can look at our local setups and repackage it. And then we get a new form. Then those ones will be for history. We can put some of them in museums, some of these things in museums, and we'll show it to our children that this is what we used to do, and this is where we have come to. Traditions are the thoughts. Whatever we call traditions or whatever cultures are the thoughts, the likes and the dislikes of some people in the olden days. We are no more those people. Therefore, we don't have to be slaves to them. That is the truth of life. You are an independent being. God created you as the image and the likeness of God. And the only purpose for which you are in existence is that analyze your life. All the things that are not working for you, use your mind and to create a new version that meets your current situation. That is what I'm talking about. That is what I'm talking about. The African mind must begin to work, particularly when this time that there is that energy, there is that desire on this part of our brothers and sisters to come to Africa, and also to have those, the diaspora. My word for them is, don't go back to Africa because people are being racist towards you. Don't go to Africa because you think you are being marginalized. Don't go to Africa because you think there are a lot of things happening to black people over there. If you go back home, you will see the same thing in a different version. That is the truth. As I said in my previous episode, your difficulties, your challenges, your circumstances are your shadows. You are in America. You are in Britain. You are in any developed world for a particular reason. You are there to be a pillar, an advocate, someone who will speak to the African situation such that your words will go far to help develop Africa. Not necessarily you're going to live there. If you are not at that level, you are also there to learn something and take it back and improve upon the life over there. But let us not go back because people are doing painful things to us. Those painful things are to spur us up for us to be look for ideas, to look for things that we can take back home and to use and to make it develop, to make Africa develop. Let us make Africa great. Let us make Africa great. And the only way we can make Africa great is by reformation. By reformation. We have to reform all the things that we have. All these kings and queens and whatever, we need to reform them and give them a place. They are only to be ceremonial and for whatever, but they don't have to hold any power at any point to tell someone to do this or that. They don't have the power to ban someone from entering their traditional area. That belongs to the olden days. We are not living by tribal, we are not living on tribal lines. We are living as a state, as a nation. Ghana, Nigeria, Togo, Congo, wherever you go. This is the time that we have to begin to build bridges, but not burning the bridges. That is the truth. So let us be deliberate. Let us be deliberate. My brothers and sisters, my fellow Africans, let us be deliberate. There are a lot of things in our lives that we are just leaving them down, that someone or a certain force will come somewhere to come and do that for us. It is never going to happen. You have to make effort. You have to be deliberate. What do you want? What do we want? We need to create that mental picture. And then as we move forward, the power in us, the force around us will move us to achieve it, accomplish it, and that becomes our new reality. You create your own realities, whether you like it or not, by your thoughts, And our thoughts is what we have to begin to control. So what do we want? What do we want? We want the developed Africa. We want the unification of the children of Africa. And therefore, what we have to do is to begin to think about it at the highest level, but not just reacting to issues, not just reacting to situations, not just reacting to situations. Our migration, our migration to any part of the world must not be motivated by the hardship we are going through, but it should be motivated by the fact that you are the creator of your own realities, and therefore you are going to change your own realities by changing your mindset. So my fellow Africans, this is the time. This is the time that we have to rise up. It is my dream, and I believe and I pray to God all the time that one day, not sooner than later, in a very short time, Africans will begin to look at things from a different perspective. We'll begin to look at our own governmental systems. We have to reform them. We have to create our own ideas and look at those that work for us. Those that are not working for us, we throw them out so that even democracy, we can create our own version of democracy. We can create our own version of democracy so that we will also sell to the world that this is what we are doing and it is working for us. That is the truth. But the fact is that the African must have an open mind. We have to begin to have open mind such that we will be open to change. We'll be open to reform. There is the need. There is the need for changes. There is the need for reformation of the African society, of the African setup. Wherever you go, we are so fragmented. Tribes, this and that and that and that. And so therefore, today, this tribe is fighting the other. Tomorrow, another tribe is fighting the other. This is the time that this thing has to come to another level. When you go to the governmental level, even when we have government, some tribes think that they are the super tribes, and therefore they should have their people in power. If you go to Nigeria in particular, they have even had another layer that they call the Christian-Muslim divide. And therefore, a Muslim can only be a president only when there is a vice president, a Christian vice president. And someone in the east must be a president. There must be someone in the north as the vice president. Look, this kind of confusion, we are creating this thing for ourselves because we are not thinking. We are not thinking. They are not serving us in any way. This is the time that we have to burn these bridges. We have to, no, this is the time that we have to, create bridges with one another, but not time to burn these bridges. This is the time that we have to look at it from the highest point of view. And let us begin to think of how we will modernize, we will evaluate, we will assess what is happening, what is going on well with that, what is working for us. Those that are not working, we throw them away. We throw them away. We have been practicing some of these things for far too long. And for me, I am of the view, and that is my prayer, that the African will rise up one day and begin to realize that all the things that we have inherited from our forefathers are not working for us, and we begin to throw them away. Let us be like the sailors. When there is trouble on the sea, they have a system, a term called jettison. They begin to throw the cargo on the ship into the waters to save the ship. Now we have a lot of waste goods. We have a lot of baggage on us on the sea of life. Let us begin to apply the jettison method, where we will throw all these things off and we will be light. We will save ourselves and recreate a new life. Therefore, as I bring my message to an end, my appeal to every man or woman listening to me, wherever you are, if you are a Black American, it is a noble idea for you to think of going back to Africa to help develop Africa, but go with the right mindset. Those of us in Africa too, it is a good idea for us to receive our brothers and sisters back, but let us make the deliberate effort to make the ground fertile for them in such a way that all of us will be able to live and create something beautiful, a modern continent, with modern nations, modern countries, and if possible, one country called the Unity of Africa, the African states, as we have in the United States, such that we have only one system. We have only one system that we are all working towards, of perfecting and making it beautiful. All these divisions, all this, that, powers that are being given to that, let us throw them away. As a matter of fact, I ask myself all the time, that what is the economic value? If I take Ghana, for instance, we have something we call the national chief something, whatever. What is the economic value of that? They don't contribute anything apart from just meeting and having meetings and all that. No, this is the time that we have to create systems that are working. There are a lot of systems in Africa that are not working. They are only these 7 people, their personal needs. This is the time that we have to take them off. Let us make Africa work. And Africa, this will only work only when we are deliberate. Let us be deliberate and analyze. And let us be bold. When there is the need to cut ourselves off all these things, let us do it and move ourselves forward, such that one day, our children will come and say that, yes, our forefathers did this for us. This is what they have done for us. And we are proud of them. We are proud of them. As a matter of fact, if we are saying that Africa is so difficult that we don't like our life, it is more or less saying that our forefathers did nothing. And it's true. They did nothing. There is one thing, giving birth to a child and bringing the child into the world, and the other thing is giving the child a good life. Bringing the child into the world, you've done it. You've given the child a good life. If you haven't done it, you cannot be saying you've given the child a good life. That is the truth of life. So let us be deliberate. Let us be deliberate. Nature unaided fails. And this is the time that we have to be active participators. We have to deliberate creators in our lives. From every nook and corner of our life, we'll be deliberate to create things that we want, we desire, and such that they'll become a reality in our lives. And that is what we're going to show to the world, that this is the African creation. That is my message for you. It is my prayer that you, the one listening to me, whoever listening to me, this message will fall in a receptive, would drop into a receptive mind, an open heart, and you begin to think. You begin to think about whatever issues I'm talking about. It is time for us to reform. It is time to change. It is time to change our life, to improve our lives by ourselves. And that is we looking, reviewing, and analyzing whatever we have and improving upon them. Our products, our food, our everything has to be reviewed. That mindset that this is how we do it. Look, if some of the African foods are prepared in a very rudimentary and barbaric way. No, this is not that is not tradition. That is not culture. Let us look at how we can improve all these things and make them so easy, so comfortable, acceptable by all men and women. That is when we say we are developed and we are moving forward. So what I've said is not only about chieftaincy, it's not only about the local setup, it is about our entire life. The things that we've been doing for far too long that it looks so difficult, it so look barbaric. Let us begin to analyze them and begin to improve upon them such that it will be accepted by all in everywhere or whenever they come to Africa. That is my message for you. That is my message for you. Now, may the overshadowing presence of God that keeps the stars in the open such that they do not fall on us, that keeps the planets in their orbits such that they do not clash with one another, lead you, keep you, and guide you, give you an open mind and a receptive heart such that this message will move you. Then you begin to think over all that we have on the African setup in such a way that we will generate ideas. All our minds put together will generate new and improved ideas of making these systems a better one that serve everyone's needs. That brings us to a level that we say we are developed nations with better and working systems and society. That is the dream. Once again, my name is Emmanuel Kwejo Mensah. I am a co-founder of the Eagle Mentality Group. At Eagle Mentality Group, we teach and share information about the power of the subconscious mind and universal laws and principles that all men and women knew in their lives that they used to develop it. Our dream is to raise a new crop of Africans who think and do things in alignment with the laws of the universe and their own being, such that we will be deliberate creators. We know that we have a role in the creative order. And so we take deliberate action and we create exactly what we want in our life and moving ourselves forward such that Africa will be a place of creation. Our creation will be attraction to all men and women from all parts of the world, particularly our brothers and sisters in diaspora. Then that we will stand on the African continent and declare from the north to the south, from the east to the west, to the central, that yes, this is Africa, this is our handiwork, and we have invited all men and women in such a way that we have all the works of people on the African continent that creating a diverse and multiracial continent that befits the glory of God, which is diversity. That is the dream. And I know this dream is already achieved. Or when the carnal man says it cannot be done, the man with vivid imagination and faith declares it is already done. And therefore, by the power in me as the child of God, the image and the likeness of God, I declare that it is already done. And so it is. Thank you, and God bless you.